Anyways, we need a professional opinion on this guy, Mr. Greg Doucette or Monoplates Monoplates. If you see this...
And you're getting the opinion, you asked for it, and here it is. Coach Greg, and today's video is on the difference between being enhanced and being natural. Joe Lindner posted a video where he's posing next to Bahij Kaddoura, and in the video, we know that Bahij is natural and that Joe is not natural. This is not news. I literally did an ad or not on both of these, and they both admit to this. It's not shocking revelations. But during the video, Joe explains this is what natural looks like and this is what not natural looks like. I'm big fans of both of them, so this makes it an even better video because I like them both. I'm gonna watch the video, I'm gonna comment, is Joe getting it right? Is he explaining the differences correctly? I'm gonna correct if I think it needs correcting, agree if it needs agreeing. Gonna tell you what I think, you know that's what I do. Let's watch a video.
Hola amigos, what's poppin'? It's me, Joe, long time no see. I mean, sorry bro, I was having my hernia surgery. This is the first shape check update, literally.
That's a tough surgery. I personally had this, and he looks incredible. Despite having hernia surgery, I could hardly train after. It is a tough surgery, harder than it looks, and he looks incredible, okay? That's phenomenal. And he's not natural, he's literally on HRT, okay? You're like, oh, he's probably on more. Trust me, HRT can work amazingly well if you have great genetics. These two guys have amazing, supremely amazing, like ridiculously amazing genetics. So even without a crazy large cycle, Joe can look like this, okay? It's just his physique.
And today we're gonna do a real life comparison between enhanced athlete versus natural athlete. I mean, first up, wait, this is Bahij Kaddoura, is his name.
I did an ad or not of a hit, and trust me, a lot of people are like, no, you got this wrong, okay? But me and Bahij been talking back and forth since then. He sent me some pictures, and I want you to see this. Check out the development on this kid at 5 years old. Supreme genetics. Maybe it's 1 in a million. Maybe it's 1 in 100 million. We don't know. And because of that, I personally think that this guy is natural. Now, if you just show me that physique and say, Coach Greg, bet on if he's natural or not, I'm saying not natural every freaking time. 99.99% of people that look like this, they're not natural. And in fact, most people, 99% who are not natural, do not look as good as Bahij.
And also, he's really blessed with genetics. Let's first of all look at his frame. Bruh, it's like, I wish, you know, like, look, Woody. It's like, I swear, if I could be like him, natty, I wouldn't take anything, man. I wish I could look like him, natural, but I just can't.
First thing you need to realize is genetics is a huge component of this. Bahij has crazy genetics. To start with, his shoulders are very wide. The wider your shoulders are, the bone structure you have, it's gonna lead to a different amount of muscle. That wide shoulder, look with the small waist. If you're born with narrow shoulders, even with a lot of muscle, you're not going to look as wide as somebody who has wide shoulders with even less muscle. So he's blessed with wide clavicles that gives him that illusion of having wide shoulders and a small waist. Joe picked up on that right away. He got behind him. He's like, look, his shoulders are wider than mine, even though he's a lot shorter.
We are the same shoulder width, but I'm 182 and he is 176.
So Joe is 6 feet tall and Bahij is 5'9". According to these stats that they've given, I'm not there to measure them, but that's what they're saying.
We're both pretty wide anyway.
Exactly, so for him it's unbelievably wide.
The first thing I'm noticing is there's more than 3 inches apart on these guys, okay? Either Joe is taller than 6 feet tall, or Bahij is shorter than 5'9". I don't know which one it is. I've never met either of them in person, but there looks to be more than 3 inches apart. I would say closer to 5 inches. I don't know, I'm not there.
For me, you can see I have really massive traps here. It goes all the way down, and this is just also, this part for him is less developed, you know?
The reason for this is Joe is saying there are more androgen receptors in the trapezius muscle, and therefore when you take PDs, like anabolic steroids, that they're gonna target that area more, and you're gonna gain more muscle in that spot, okay? In reality, this isn't actually true. In the real world, you can take all the PDs you want, and you may or may not grow in the trapezius area. You might have good genetics to build traps or bad genetics to build traps. Think of it, I'm deadlifting, I'm trying everything to develop to have that large muscle and taking PDs, but no, it didn't grow that way. In comparing my natural photos to my enhanced photos after, I didn't notice a massive growth in the trapezius area in comparison to other areas. So although you'll find articles that say there's more androgen receptors, so you're gonna see bigger traps in the real world, in reality, just because someone has large traps doesn't mean they're on steroids, and somebody that's natural has small traps. You can be natural and have freakishly massive traps, but small shoulders and arms. Although he's not wrong, he's correct in saying that there's studies that show there's more receptors, but it doesn't mean that just because there's more receptors that you automatically are gonna get bigger traps from taking PEDs and training them.
There's a lot of receptors are in your traps.
And
so
the
this
shoulders.
is, and the shoulders. Yes, so the 3D look, this extreme 3D look you only get when you're using something.
And so he's saying, yeah, and another location for these androgen receptors in the delts. And I'm looking over at natural Bahij and saying, well, his delts look ridiculous. His traps aren't so good, but his delts look ridiculous. Why? Because his genetics for building delts are better. And he has the wide clavicles. The wider it is, the bigger his shoulders are gonna look. If your shoulder comes up to here and you put a bit of muscle, it just looks more impressive. If you have the little narrow shoulders, you put some muscles, it's just not as impressive. So it's not the fact of the androgen receptors, it's more the fact of the genetics.
We look pretty similar, right?
Pretty
But
much.
the truth is, like, for me, I have more water in my body, and for you, you have slightly a bit higher body fat than me.
When you're on PEDs like testosterone, your body holds water. Steroids, you tend to hold more water. Most anabolics, you're gonna hold more water, even if it's SARMs. More water in the muscle, and the muscle looks bigger and more full. And you know what? When I was natural, I found I looked leaner than when I took PEDs. When I took PEDs, my muscles got a lot bigger and a lot fuller, but a lot of it was water weight. I tend to look more bloated, a bit more puffy. And then I'd actually go off the cycle. That's right, I cycled on and off. When I went off, I actually would look leaner despite eating more calories. So despite the fact that I was starting to store more body fat, I still look leaner than when I was on the testosterone. And I know you're thinking, oh, you're on HRT, that's why you look so lean. It's not the case. When you in fact lower your dose of testosterone, you literally look leaner. I'm not making this shit up. When you're on testosterone, you tend to look bigger, yes, stronger, yes, all the stuff, yes, but not leaner. You look less lean.
Yeah.
But for like your arms and all these kind of things, when you show his arms, everything is really lean.
That is genetics. Where you hold fat is genetic. When I was natural, my calves were still ripped. When I was enhanced, they're still ripped. I never tended to store fat in my stomach so much, I tend to store it in my quads and my legs. Now what I did notice when I went from being natural to enhanced is I stored more body fat in my upper body in comparison to my legs. So when I was younger and I was natural and I competed, I had rather soft legs. They weren't ripped, but my upper body, my abs looked amazing, they really did. Once I took PEDs, I found I had to get even leaner than before to get the shredded abs that I wanted. Maybe it's because I was holding more water, who knows? But what I did see was my legs got way better. So for me, and that's just me, everyone's different. I had way more improvement in my legs than in my traps and delts from taking steroids. I know you want all your body fat to come from your freaking stomach when you diet, but it's just stubborn belly fat, it's genetics. Oh, I lost 5 pounds. Unfortunately, it was all started from here and went down. Sucks. Oh, I lost 5 pounds, came all from my ass. Yeah, that sucks too. Nothing you can do about it.
You look here, for me, my triceps is like almost, you see the feathers.
Even when I was 4% body fat and I flexed my tricep, I didn't have the feathers the way I wanted to. My brother dieted when he was a teenager and he had feathers everywhere. It was ridiculous. He weighed 128 pounds of shredded ridiculousness. Okay? It's just where you lose body fat, and even if you have the same genetics, or from the same parents, you can look different. So Bahij's triceps are holding more fat than his biceps, but it's not because he's natural, it's because that's where he holds his body fat. If he took PEDs, doesn't mean all of a sudden his triceps is going to get feathered. It doesn't work like that.
What never gets that crazy developed, usually also because it doesn't have the receptors, is the rear delt.
So he's saying because he doesn't have fully developed rear delts, that's a sign he's natural. No, it's a sign he doesn't train his rear delts enough. Do you know how many people avoid the rear delts? I did a delt exercise, the 3 best, 3 worst. You all think all I do is natty or nuts. 3 best, 3 worst delt exercises, and I spoke specifically on what you need to focus on. Almost nobody focuses on the rear delts. Everyone's focused on the front because that's what you see from the front. Do more rear delt focused exercises. He doesn't have enough muscle in the rear delt. Doesn't mean he's natural. It means he doesn't train it enough. Or his genetics for muscle in the rear delt are not as strong.
That's just all the androgens that the testosterone, by the way, I'm taking testosterone replacement therapy, which means 125 milligrams every 10 days.
That's less than I'm on. That's 87.5 milligrams a week. That's all he's taking. I mean, it's amazing the way he looks to have such a low dose. But trust me, for some people, a little goes a long way. For all we know, the 87 milligrams in his body is working as well as 200 in another body.
Currently, your shape got improved, right? So let's do a real quick posing, front double bi also. Let's do it next to each other. Can we get it full frame?
It's 0 pump, 0. This is me flat. And as a natural, I get much bigger when I pump up. It like doubles up.
The truth is, when you're enhanced and you pump up even more. The difference from flat to pump when you're enhanced is greater than when you're natural and pumped up. How do I know? I've been natural and I've been enhanced. I've done both. I did 42 freaking bodybuilding shows natural. I did 42, I did 17 shows not natural. I've done both ways. I know what it's like to look natural. I know what it's like to feel natural, to pump up natural, to pose flex, and all of this stuff, okay? Looking at both physiques, they are incredible. Joe does look to be a little bit bigger, but he is in fact taller. But Bahij, he has the wider shoulders to a smaller waist ratio, okay? So with maximum muscle development, Bahij would have more potential than Joe, okay? The genetics for shape are in Bahij's favor, but perhaps the genetics for size are in Joe's favor. They're both not at 5% body fat, so we don't know who would actually win in competition.
I mean, what is another point? Let's say for me, my chest, easy also to spot someone who's taken something is the upper chest part.
No, that's also genetic based, and how you train, of course, is genetics and training. You can be enhanced and not have a massive chest. My friend Johnny Shreve, he's not shy, he's not natural. He doesn't have a massive chest, but have you seen his friggin' arms? Have you seen his arms? His arms natural or bigger than mine enhanced. Genetics. And they're comparing backs. He's like, well, I have more water on my back and your leg's leaner and this. It's genetics. We all hold our fat differently. It's not water here. If Joe got more shredded, he would have less fat on his back. Okay? That's just a simple case.
And then also when you look at his arms and stuff here, the veins, there is not this crazy veininess that you are used to.
And what about the veins? Yes, when your blood volume goes up, you have more red blood cells, and you're on steroids, especially when you're lean, you're gonna see the veins popping through. But just because you don't have veins doesn't mean you're natural, okay? When I was natural and got shredded, I didn't really see a lot of veins, but I never had a lot of veins. I'm on PDs now, and you see a lot of veins. It's just genetics. You can be genetics to have a lot of vascularity or genetics to not have much.
This is a very important thing. Like, look, here I'm having the cheeks. And we are quite in a similar shape. But why is your skin, like your face is like a dead face, like it's... Next thing, it's the androgens again. It's the receptors that when you take test, look at people that take test, if they eat too much carbs,
So that is a very good point that Joe brings out, that testosterone, it oftentimes gives you that puffy face. Look at some guys doing bodybuilding contests, sometimes even the Mr. Olympia competitors. They're shredded, they're like 4 or 5% body fat, and yet they look puffy. If you see them in the face, they look like they're a little chubby, like maybe they're not even in shape. But then their clothes come off, and you're like, what is even happening? Whereas people who are natural and get shredded, usually the face is super gone and drawn in, okay? Water retention.
So the next comparison that I have is for a natural athlete, you need more carbs in order to perform properly. For me, as I'm having the testosterone that boosts me, I need less carbs and I can still perform that way. And with the less carbs, I look better than him, because if he goes with low and no carb, he just gets flat and soft.
When you're on steroids, you have huge muscles. Even if you eat no carbs and you're flat, you still look ridiculous. You think Phil Heath would look good if he didn't eat for a week? Phil Heath could not eat for a week and flex and be like, look at these big muscles. If you're natural and don't eat for a week, imagine what you'd look like. You look like a string bean. You look like a skeleton. You don't have that fullness. So you need the carbs to look more full because your muscles are smaller. But if your muscles are huge from taking PEDs, you could not eat hardly anything and still look amazing. Just to show how good Bahij's genetics are, he squats 260 kilos and he benches 200 kg. That's 440. That's phenomenal. He only weighs just over 200 pounds. These are big lifts. But in a natural competition, it wouldn't set world records now, would it? It's very, very strong and impressive, but it's not the most mind-blowing weights in the world.
So that's also a thing, like when a guy stands there from the front, and let's say my traps, they go at this again like,
The trap thing, it's irrelevant. I'm sorry, I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm not hating on these guys. Just the trap thing, you can't say, well, steroids is this way and that way if it's natural. No, that's not the case. It's genetics.
When you walk around, my fellow natties, you know your pump is small,
That's
and
the
you know
thing.
you're not as full as the guys on duty. God bless you. Go Corona. Go.
Jeez, there's gonna be freaking a hit against a cove. There's a hit and a cove and a back and forth. Oh, the sneezes. So now you sneeze, it's like, oh my goodness. It's like, oh, this is the worst thing that could ever happen.
This is actually one thing a lot of people don't know. I don't train arms often, like once a month.
Look, honestly, this guy should be like this.
As I was saying, genetics. Bahij hardly trains arms once a month. With arms like that. Doesn't need to train calves. Genetics. It's genetics. Is this not even more proof that it's genetics?
He is like a Spartan, man. The guy can run, sprint, lift, jump, athletic aesthetics, man. So,
When I got to, just so if you, a lot of people like to ask this question, I got to 20.5 inches on my arms.
He's gotten up to 20.5-inch arms before. My biggest arms ever were just over 20 with a pump on PDs. That was when I was on my max doses. That's the biggest my arms were. He's natural. His arms are as big as mine. It's genetics.
Shoulders I don't really train, and calves. Those are the three I don't touch.
anyways, we need a professional opinion on this guy, Mr. Greg Doucette or Monoplets Monoplets. If you see this,
And you're getting the opinion. You asked for it, and here it is.
I was yesterday saying to him, if he would take something, he would be some Hardy Schupan. Like this type of style, like just insane.
Yeah, see, this is what you get. You get a physique like this that's natural, and then you give them the PDs. These are the guys that are making it to the Mr. Olympia. All those guys in the Mr. Olympia, if PDs had never been invented, this is how they would be looking, and even bigger, some of them.
I swear my skin is more thin than his, but still it looks less good.
And Joe makes a good point. My thin is thinner than his, but his abs still look better than mine. It's a genetic thing. Bahij has more body fat on his stomach, yet his abs still look better. Some guys have 20% body fat and they still have abs. Genetics! Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching. Greg Doucette IV Pro. Blooping up 2 videos, and until next time, I am out. First thing you need to realize is genetics is a huge component of this. Good genetics. The genetics. It's just genetics. Genetics. It's genetics. Is this not even more proof that it's genetics?